All right, so we're going to do example 2.1. Again, we're going to do it with the graphing method. As a reminder, here's a little general rule of a reminder here. The length of the output is going to be the length of the input plus the length of the system minus 1, so we should end up having an output with length 6. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to flip one of your signals. It doesn't matter which one you're going to end up with the same answer if you do it correctly. We're flipping h in this one, so here's h of negative k. And then we're going to shift the flip version right by n. So if we're shifting positive, we're going to shift right, and if n's negative, we're going to shift left. And then we're going to multiply any impulses that line up, and then we're just going to add those together, and that gives us our output at that n. So right here, we just have h of negative k. We haven't shifted it at all, so n is equal to 0. So our output, y, at n equals 0, is going to be equal to, well, this impulse is matching up with a 0. That's a 0 right there. So that's 2 times 0, which is 0. And then this impulse and this impulse are matching up. So we get 2 times 2, and that's equal to 4. Now we can shift right by n equals negative 1. So we'll write n equals negative 1, and that's just bringing this all left. So we have our zeros match up here. We're shifting right by negative 1, so that's a shift left by 1. So we'll have an impulse here. This is a 0, and then we'll have an impulse here. And this is h of negative 1 minus k. And we just match them up. There's a 0 here, and there's a 0 here. Magnitude 2, magnitude 2. This is matching up with a 0, so that's a 0. And then this impulse right here is matching up with this impulse right here. So we get 2 times 1 equals 2. And now we'll shift right by n equals 1. So we're going to go back to this original flip signal right here, this one here, and we're just going to shift it that way by 1. So we'll have an impulse here of magnitude 2. This will be a 0, and we'll have an impulse here of magnitude 2. This one is multiplying by a 0. This one's multiplying by a 1. So we get y of 1. We get y of 1 is equal to 2 times 1 equals 2. And we just keep going until we've covered all the signals. So now we'll do n equals 2. Shift this over 1. We'll have an impulse here. This is a 0. An impulse here. That one's matching up with that one. This one's matching up with this one. That's both magnitudes 2. Y of 2 is equal to 2 times 2 plus 2 times negative 1, and that's going to equal 2. Keep shifting. This is for n equals 3. Y of 3 is equal to, and we don't have any impulses of our h matching up with any non-zero impulses of our x. So this is y of 3 is equal to 0. And then we get our last one here. Get rid of this. This is n equals 4. And we're going to shift it right one more time, so we end up with an impulse here of magnitude 2. That's a 0. And then we have an impulse here of magnitude 2. And we get y of 4 is equal to, these are the only two that are lining up right here. So we get 2 times -1, and that equals -2. And that's the graphing method. Thank you.